In scene 6, it's about Bonnie trying to sell the house, and an estate agent is round trying to value it for her. We stage it the same as in Carol's scene 4 when she's buying the house originally. This was to show the audience the subtext between it and the fact that they are connected and it's the same house. Karen, the estate agent, says very beautiful, and then Bonnie says sorry after a small gap. This was either because she's spaced out and like she's saying, oh sorry, what did you say? Doesn't understand what the estate agent is saying, or she just doesn't think it is very beautiful. I think I went for the doesn't think it is beautiful one, because then throughout the scene she can go on a journey of realizing that it actually is beautiful. Bonnie's the estate agent says that they can go higher than what Bonnie is thinking as it turns a price, and Bonnie says you don't know what I'm thinking, because she's quite confused in the way that the estate agent can say that without knowing what Bonnie is thinking beforehand. Whereas that's just a turn of phrase saying, oh, I bet it's higher than what you're thinking, like it's quite a high price. Bonnie doesn't understand that. Bonnie says it's just not very lived and I wouldn't call it a wreck. This was slightly light defensive, as in, because while she hasn't been at the house very long or known it for very long, she still acknowledges that it's been in her family for a long time, and that she does still feel some connection to it despite the fact that she's selling it. She still wants people to understand how good it actually could be. And then she repeats, I was thinking higher. I think this is because she's trying to tell Karen that it is worth a lot more than what Karen thinks it is, through all the emotions that have been through it and what's happened in it and the story that's happened throughout it, and it's been in the 3 generations. Karen says, did you grow up here? And Bonnie then says, do you need that information in order to sell it? It's more of a questioning and wondering whether she genuinely needs that information, rather than being defensive and saying, do you actually need that information, because I don't want to give it to you. It's very much just wondering whether she actually needs it or not. Karen then goes on to say why they might need the information, and says, people like knowing families have lived here successfully, I suppose. Because Bonnie's family obviously hasn't lived there successfully, we had to show that in Bonnie's reaction to that line. At first we weren't sure whether to make her look sad, or make it more of an inside joke, or just have some sort of carrying away from that. Initially it was more of an inside joke thing with and our director told us to put our head down and smile. But I didn't think that suited it very much, because I think that Bonnie definitely would feel something towards the fact that they haven't lived there successfully, and it wouldn't be humour. So I made it more of like looking away, kind of awkward, like, oh right, that's why. And I think that works best because it goes between what we were told to do and what I think Bonnie would do. And then the estate agent goes on to say, but not too much. That's very much a relief to Bonnie, as it means she doesn't have to say exactly what happened in that house, despite the fact that she does tell her roughly what happened. Because the next lines Bonnie say was that she was born there and that her mother died. Initially it seems like Bonnie would have some sort of emotion towards her mother dying, or that she would have a slightly different tone between the two of them. But we decided that it would be the same tone between both lines, as it conveys towards the audience that she isn't socially aware and she's not completely socially adept. Yeah. And then she goes on to say, like, it was a long time ago, and when she says lifetimes ago, we turn and look out towards the other generations, making it look more like we're just looking into another room or looking at the wall, but to show the audience that we are all connected, because while Anna and Carol are connected at this point, Bonnie still isn't connected to the others. So her saying that is them, it's us trying to connect it for the audience without saying it explicitly. She then goes on to say, like, her grandparents bought it and lists the things that she bought it for. And when she lists them, I think she realises that it is actually a very nice house and there's a good reason why they bought it. Because she then goes on to say it is very beautiful. This line is her, like, just realising how nice it actually is. And it's her starting to realise that she doesn't actually want to sell the house, that she wants to keep it and live in it and live how her mother and grandmother did in that house and go through what they went through and feel connected to them. And then later on there's subtext between Carol's and Bonnie's. In Carol's, she says, when a wolf dies the pack can fall apart, and then Bonnie comes straight in with, was that a joke? Carol's line has very much got a lot of subtext within it, and it's talking about her family and she's talking about herself, so when she dies the pack can fall apart. And then Bonnie just comes straight in with, was that a joke, as if to say, oh, our family hasn't fallen apart, I'm still here, I'm still alive, I'm still surviving. And yet she isn't surviving a life in which they may have wanted for her. She then goes on to say stuff about the house, like, oh, I wish I had grown up here. It's quite hard to explore that, because it's quite hard to figure out how she'd say it, because whether she'd want... It's obvious that she'd want to grow up here, but then if she had grown up there, then her mother would have been dead already, and she had just been there with her father, and it would have been incredibly hard for the both of them to try and live a normal life in the house that her mother committed suicide in. The estate agent then goes on to say lots of potential, and Bonnie questions it as if to say, oh, what can I do? Like, how can I make this house a better house? What can I do to either increase the sale value or make it as beautiful as it once was? By doing this, I made her seem a lot more interested, especially with the word garden. So it's like, oh, garden, what can I do with it? Because in the next scene, she's then planting flowers, which is what the estate agent said that she could do. So Karen's next few lines are just saying what she could do with it. And as Bonnie, I was thinking that she would just kind of stand there, not really looking at what could happen, but just kind of nodding and being like, imagining what it could look like. Karen then goes on to say it could be a really brilliant long-term investment, a real opportunity for a family. I think that word family is what causes Bonnie to say, could you give me a minute? Because it's her first time realising that another family could actually live in this house, and that it's not just her family's house. Like, if she sells it, then there'd be other people living there, and whether she doesn't want that because she's scared of having another family living in the house that her whole family was in for a long time, or whether she's scared that there's some sort of curse on the house or something along those lines, and that anyone who goes in, their family will be completely messed up. I don't know. But it's definitely the word family that causes her to make her get rid of the estate agent and keep the house in the end. After that, there's 3 pages in which Bonnie doesn't do anything, or there's no direction for her to do anything. And we decided that she'd like look out the window and see what her grandmother would have seen when she bought the house, and look around the room and everything in it. And then when Jamie starts talking to Anna in Anna's generation, there were two lines in which he says that Bonnie and Carol were given direction to do. One of them was when Jamie says, but when my lips shaped it, it felt like being home. On home, we were told as Bonnie to look up towards where Anna died, so above where the estate agent was previously standing, to show like, well, that's where Anna is now, like. And then in Carol's, she was looking down towards Anna in the pram. The next bit of direction was when Jamie says, I want to hold you. For us as Bonnie, we were kneeling down and touching the place where Bonnie was born. And then on Carol's side, it was Carol picking up Anna and holding her. This was partially to solidify the fact that they are all connected, they're generations of women, and also to show how one sentence can change completely what it means depending on the situation at hand. Because I want to hold you, in Anna's, it's perfectly normal, he just wants to hug her. In Carol's, it's Carol taking care of her and holding her in her arms to keep her comforted. And in Bonnie's, it can't mean anything because she's gone and she can't hold her. There's no way that she could.